Welcome to the Shade Chronicles, an anthology-style podcast featuring short works of fiction and serial prose, specifically with a sci-fi and horror flavor. Your hosts for the podcast are Derek Leffridge and Lawrence Trokey.
Hi, this is Derek Leffridge.
Hi, this is Lawrence Trokey, and thank you for spending your time with us. Day by Lawrence Trokey. He sat across the table from her, anxiety building as he watched her eat the last bite of tiramisu. She daintily wiped her mouth and laid the napkin on the table. It was the conclusion of a $750 dinner at the best restaurant in town. It started with French wine, followed by hors d'oeuvres made with truffles. Next was a lobster bisque, accompanied by gourmet breadsticks. The entree was Chateaubriand, baby potatoes, and grilled asparagus. The tiramisu was the piece de la resistance, topping off a world-class meal that came with a view of the Chicago skyline from the 24th floor of a luxury hotel where they were to stay that night. She noticed him staring at her with an expectant look on his face. She offered a soft smile and sipped her wine. He could not take it anymore, so he broke the silence. How was it? She smiled again and sat down her wine glass. It was good. Really good. Thank you. They were celebrating their 5th wedding anniversary. Having been married this long and knowing her for almost 8 years up to that point, he knew there would be another shoe yet to drop. The tiramisu was especially good, considering, her voice trailed off. Here it comes, the other shoe. Considering? He asked. Well, I was just thinking something was slightly off with it. Maybe the chocolate was a little stale? I'm not sure. Still, very tasty despite that. She sipped her wine again. His stomach tightened, and his hands were clammy now. He had tried so hard this time. I thought the Chateaubriand was perfect, didn't you? He tried to steer her back to a more positive viewpoint. Yes, it wasn't bad. A little chewy, but it had a nice flavor. His heart sank. What about this world-class view, huh? Chi-town at night? How romantic. He tried again. Yes, maybe, but where I'm sitting, there's a glare coming off of one of the buildings that keeps hitting me in the eyes. You don't see it, do you? No, I'm sorry. We could have changed chairs if that was a problem. She waved a dismissive hand. Oh, you know me. I don't want to be a bother, and I don't like to complain. He suppressed a snarky chuckle at that one. Is there anything else I could do to make the evening better? Oh, Alex, it's fine. I think I'm just a little tired. Also, the wine is giving me a headache. It was a $100 bottle of wine, he thought. How could it have given her a headache like it was a bottle of Mad Dog 2020? She grabbed her clutch. If you don't mind, I'm going up to the room to see if I can get rid of this headache while you get the check. Is that okay? Maybe you could run downstairs and see if they have any aspirin in that sundry shop we saw when we came in? Sure, no problem. I'll see you in a few minutes. The evening was sinking fast. He knew by the time he got to the room, she would be asleep, so the opportunity for sex was out of the window too. He would sulk his way back to the room, put on his pajamas, and climb into bed next to her, only to lie awake for over an hour trying to figure out what went wrong this time. It was always something. The expensive memory foam mattress had a lump in a funny place that caused her trouble with her sleep, even though Alex could never find it. The luxury EV she drove was too responsive when she depressed the pedal, and it made her nervous. Their home in the affluent Chicago suburb with a waterfront view and a built-in pool was fine, except the trees dropped those spiky gumballs every fall. When she jogged, she was always worried about slipping and falling. Alex loved his wife, Maggie, with all of his heart. He fell in love with her in college as an undergrad. He did everything he could to make her happy for the first 13 years they had been together, and, up till now, he never quite got it right. Being a perfectionist, it drove him mad to think that he could not make Maggie truly and completely happy no matter how hard he tried. A few days later, Alex was eating lunch in the break room at the law firm where he was a 5th-year associate. It was rumored that Alex was on a fast track to becoming a partner faster than any associate in the firm's history. Alex was an excellent lawyer. The secret to his success was his incredible gift for details. He was meticulous in capturing even the most obscure particulars of any case he worked, and many times it was his attention to specifics that helped him create a winning strategy which propelled him to the top of the list of potential new partners at his firm. His friend and fellow associate, Angelique, entered the break room and sat down at Alex's table. She knew about Alex's big night and was anxious to hear how it went. "There he is, Mr. Anniversary," Angelique announced as she sat down. "How did everything go?" "I wish I could say it was perfect, but..." Alex's voice trailed off. "What did Maggie have a problem with this time?" Angelique said as if she was expecting this. "Oh, just the food, the view, the hotel's bedding, the water pressure in the shower, and the speed of the elevators, but that's really it." Angelique brought a hand to her forehead in disbelief. "Are you shitting me?" she said in disgust. "That's a 5-star hotel. The restaurant has 2 Michelin stars, for Christ's sake." Alex nodded in agreement. "I know. What is wrong with her? Seriously. What the hell do you have to do to make her happy?" Alex smiled with a bit of sadness in his eyes. "I wish I knew." "I mean, you really did your research on this one. You had the chef put together all her favorites in a meal fit for a queen. You even went to the hotel manager to make sure the room was set up to her liking, and she still found fault with it." Angelique was in a state of disbelief at Alex's circumstance. She sat there in stunned silence for a few moments while Alex ate his salad quietly. "Look, Alex, I'm sorry for what happened, but as a friend, I'm going to say this, and I don't want you to get mad at me." She paused, looking for his approval to go on. He nodded again, and she continued. "Maggie is just someone who cannot be happy. There is something wrong with her. You got to stop trying to make her happy because it will only end up making you miserable." She reached out a hand and placed it on top of his, emphasizing she was trying to console him. "I appreciate what you're saying, but..." He paused to steady himself. "I have no choice. I love her and I want to make her happy. I can't help myself." His expression had the look of someone sentenced to life in prison. He was trapped in an unsolvable puzzle, doomed to try to find an unattainable solution. They sat there together in a break room for several minutes in silence. Then Angelique rose and placed a hand on Alex's shoulder. "You're a good man, Alex." She patted his shoulder and then left the break room. A couple weeks had passed since Alex's conversation with Angelique, and he hadn't seen her since. His workload was quite heavy at the time, and he spent most of his time in his office or in meetings with clients. He was returning to the office after another meeting when he saw Angelique fast approaching him at the elevators. She waved a hand at him to come see her, and he did. "Alex, I got a solution for you. Do you have a few minutes?" Alex wasn't sure what she meant. "Do you mean regarding the DeLuca case?" "No, about Maggie. Come with me and I'll explain." She grabbed Alex's arm and pulled him towards the break room. In the break room, she sat him down and began to explain. "I had a meeting with a new client a few days ago who I think can help with your situation. He's a life counselor who specializes in relationships. I can't name names, but he works with some very important people, famous people. And when I told him about you, he was very intrigued." Angelique was almost giddy to tell Alex her news. "You told your client about Maggie and me?" Alex was a little stunned at this. "Look, I know it's none of my business, but I care about you, Alex, and I want to be there for you. This guy sounds like he can truly help you figure things out with Maggie." She looked at him with real concern in her expression, and Alex appreciated her support. "Who is he?" Alex was now curious. "His name is Adrian Gehenna. Here's his card." She handed Alex an all-black, glossy card. When Alex looked at the card, the lettering was raised and in a matte finish so you could read the letters. It was a very exotic-looking card for someone who was a counselor, Alex thought. "He told me to tell you to come by his office tomorrow around noon for a free consultation. He was so interested in your situation, he was willing to waive his consultation fee." Again, Angelique's enthusiasm was overflowing. "I can't do it tomorrow. I've got a lunch with a client." Angelique cut him off. "Alex, you have to meet with him. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to fix all your problems. Don't throw this opportunity away," she was adamant. "I guess I can reschedule the lunch." Alex was non-committal in his tone, but he knew he would abide Angelique's will. "I got to go. Good luck." She gave Alex a hug on the way out of the break room. Alex sat there for a few moments staring at the odd business card before returning to his office. Just before noon the next day, Alex arrived at the office of Adrian Gehenna by way of taxicab. He stood on the curb for a moment looking at the office building, wondering if this was really a good idea. He knew he needed to at least attempt to give it a shot in order to keep Angelique from being mad at him, so he reluctantly entered the building and went to the bank of elevators at the end of the lobby. He scanned the digital directory for Gehenna's office, and it was on the 13th floor. That was an ominous start to all of this, Alex thought. He rode the elevator to the 13th floor and went to Gehenna's office number, 1313. This guy was doubling down on the whole number 13 thing, Alex thought. Alex entered the office expecting to be greeted by a receptionist. There was no one attending. He looked for a buzzer or a sign-in book, but they were also missing. The office was decorated in a modern feng shui style that was simple, balanced, and yet somewhat cold. Not sure how to proceed, Alex took a seat on the modular sofa and pulled out his phone to make sure he was at the right place. A second later, a door opened from the other side of the room, and a tall, dark-dressed man poked his head into the room and said, "Mr. Jackson, Mr. Gehenna will see you now." Alex was a little startled at the fact that they knew he was here and they were expecting him. He had not set an appointment, so he thought this visit was supposed to be just a quick drop-by, informal. He stood up and entered the next room. "Thank you," he said to the attendant. Alex passed through the waiting room, also having the same cold yet balanced flowing decor. The tall, dark man showed him to the door to Gehenna's office, which was the only thing in the room that did not match the rest of the decor. It was a massive heavy wood door, very ornate, with intricate etchings and carvings. It looked like it came from the set of some fantasy adventure movie where elves and dwarves existed. The receptionist opened the door with some effort for Alex. It was the kind of door that could have held behind it the secrets of the ages, Alex mused. Boy, this guy Gehenna was certainly one who liked drama. The receptionist followed Alex into the room and offered him a chair opposite a large desk made of black marble and steel. The rest of the office was rather sparse. There were a couple of freestanding modern art-style statues in the corners, and that was it. The large, floor-to-ceiling windows offered a spectacular view of the city skyline beyond. "Mr. Gehenna will be with you in a moment. Can I offer you a beverage?" the receptionist asked. No, thank you. I'm fine," Alex responded. It was the first time he got a good look at the receptionist, and it gave Alex a moment of pause. The man was tall and had slender features. His head was shaved bald, and it was perfectly symmetrical, as were the features of his face. Alex wasn't sure if the man would be considered handsome. He was just perfect. The receptionist left the room, and Alex sat staring out the window at the city. He was a bit uncomfortable at the odd experience he had had so far, and was thinking of making up an excuse to leave. Maybe an emergency phone call from the office, he thought. Just then he heard someone say, "Alex, I am so glad you came to see me. It is a pleasure to meet you." Startled again, since he didn't hear anyone enter the room, Alex turned to the sound of the voice. Adrian Gehenna stood behind him, with his hands folded together. He wore a dark three-piece suit with a long tuxedo-style coat that seemed a bit old-fashioned to Alex. Yet his suit was clearly very expensive and immaculately tailored to fit Gehenna's tall, slender frame. He wore his hair short and matted to his skull, and his features were sharp, dark eyes, razor-thin lips set in a chiseled face. On his lapel, a blood-red rosebud, which was the only bit of color he wore. Alex started to rise, but Gehenna said, "Oh, don't get up. We have much to discuss." Gehenna walked quickly to his desk and was seated before Alex could react. "Thank you for meeting with me," Alex offered, still unsure of the whole thing. "My pleasure, of course. Once your colleague described your situation, I knew you were the perfect candidate for my counseling." "Well, to be honest with you, Angelique tends to exaggerate some, so this may not be necessary." Alex started to try to find a way out of this meeting, but Gehenna cut him off. "Oh, nonsense, my friend. You see, I have done research into your situation, and I know you are in desperate need of my services." Research, Alex thought? What kind of research could he have done without knowing hardly anything about him? Gehenna leaned across the desk and fixed his eyes on Alex. "You see, Alex, I know what it's like to be frustrated by goals that seem unattainable. You work so hard to achieve something, and then to have it ripped away from you." Gehenna smiled at Alex, but it was not a warm, friendly smile, more ironic. He went on, "With my help, I can navigate you around the obstacles that stand in your way. Together we can achieve the desires of your heart. You need only trust me and allow me to be your guide." Gehenna sat back in his chair and rested his hands on the desk. That's interesting." Alex wasn't sure if this guy was a quack or really believed what he said. "I can see you are a skeptic. I have encountered many before, and they all end up the same way." How do they end up?" Alex taking the bait Gehenna dangled. "Believers. They believe, Alex, because I have shown them the true way to happiness." Gehenna smiled at Alex the way a lion might smile at a gazelle. Uh-huh. Alex was still uncertain of all of this. "Give me a chance to prove to you what I say, at no cost to you, of course. Then once I have convinced you, you can decide how you want to proceed." Gehenna stood up and walked around the desk to stand in front of Alex. I suppose there's no harm in that. I hope you don't take any offense at my being a skeptic. This is just all very new to me. Alex apologized, hoping he didn't offend Angelique's new client. None taken, my friend. He reached out and offered Alex his hand. Alex stood up and took it. When he did, a wave of something passed through him. What it was, he wasn't sure or could even describe. It was like a trembling, nervous feeling that had passed from his head to his toes in a flash and then was gone. Gehenna took Alex's arm while he shook his hand, and Alex thought it might have been to help steady him, although Gehenna did not make any mention of it or seemed alarmed in any way. Next, with a gentle nudge, Gehenna was showing Alex the door. Take the next 48 hours to think on it. Within that time, I will send you a package that will help you decide. When you have seen the proof of what I say, come back here and we'll discuss the details of our contract. Okay, thank you again, Alex said, sounding a bit confused by what just happened, but still complying with Gehenna. Good day, Alex. Watch for the package. With that, Gehenna closed his office door, and Alex walked out to the elevators feeling like he was in a trance. It was several minutes before he felt like himself again. The next day, Alex returned home from work and found a package on his front porch. There was no label indicating who had sent the package, but judging from the all-black wrapping paper, Alex figured it was from Gehenna. He wasn't sure if he wanted to open it, but after a few minutes of staring at the package, curiosity won out, and Alex used a kitchen knife to cut through the wrapping paper. Inside was a delicate wood box with a hinged lid. It had engraved markings similar to those Alex remembered seeing on the door to Gehenna's office. Alex slowly opened the box. It contained a simple silver charm on a silver chain. The charm was a disc with an engraving as well. It was an image of the horizon with a star rising above it. A morning star? Alex wondered. He removed it from the box and realized it was a necklace. Inside the box was a slip of paper with a note. Alex unfolded the note to read it. A small token of my appreciation for the start of our new friendship. Enjoy. This was a strange kind of promotional tchotchke, Alex thought. Most firms give out water bottles or desk calendars, not jewelry. Alex held the necklace in front of him for inspection when Maggie entered the kitchen. What is that? She said with surprise and much interest. Oh, it's a gift from a client. Actually, before Alex could correct himself, Maggie was in front of him and gently took the necklace from him. It's beautiful, she whispered, the sound of longing in her voice. Alex was surprised by her reaction. Sure, she likes jewelry, but there was always something that was not quite right with anything he ever got her in the past. It wasn't the right color, it was too big, it was too small, etc. Would you like to have it? He offered it to her even though she was already putting it around her neck. Really? I can keep it? Oh, Alex, I would love that. It is so beautiful. It's perfect. Alex was stunned. This had never happened with Maggie. Ever. The necklace wasn't even that ornate, nor did it have expensive gems. It was just a simple piece of silver on a chain. Please, take it. It's yours. He smiled at her and watched her gush over the gift. Then she stepped in close and gave him a passionate kiss that rocked him from his head to his crotch. Thank you so much, she said, and she gave him a sly smile. She gently took his hand and led him upstairs to the bedroom. What followed was the most amazing evening of Alex's life. Maggie seemed possessed by such an incredible, insatiable lust that he wasn't sure if he could keep up. But when it was over, she was blissfully asleep at his side while he stared wide-eyed at the ceiling, still reeling from the experience. When sleep came, it was the deepest, most restful sleep he had had since he was a child. In the morning, he awoke to the smell of breakfast being prepared downstairs, and soon his appetite compelled him to investigate. He slipped on his robe and slippers and went downstairs to find Maggie putting the finishing touches on his favorite breakfast dish: French toast, scrambled eggs, and bacon with a glass of chilled orange juice and a cup of his favorite coffee from the coffee shop down the road. Wow, this is awesome. Did you do all this for me? Alex asked as he sat down at the table. I woke up feeling so energized this morning that I had to do something. Maybe that lump in the mattress had finally worked itself out? I don't know, but I slept like a baby regardless. And when I woke up, I almost jumped out of bed ready to start the day. I wanted to say thank you again for the lovely necklace, and especially for last night. Another sly smile crossed her face, and Alex almost blushed. Alex devoured the meal like a wolf at an all-you-can-eat sheep buffet. Afterwards, he dressed for work and kissed Maggie goodbye. Again, the kiss was spectacular, indicating the promise of things to come. On the drive to work, Alex reflected on everything that had happened yesterday and this morning. Maggie seemed like a new person. The change was instantaneous, like someone flicking on a switch inside of her. She seemed happy. Completely. He had never seen her like that before. It didn't seem natural, like she was under the influence of something. It all started with the arrival of the gift from Gehenna. The necklace. Holy shit, Alex thought. That goddamn necklace must have something to do with the change in Maggie. Even as he thought it, he couldn't believe it. His logical, rational mind rebelled against the idea of superstition and myth in the real world, yet he could not explain the change in Maggie. Surely the presence of the necklace was not a coincidence. But how could a piece of metal affect someone's mood or behavior? Unless... Alex crossed 3 lanes of traffic, cut off his semi-truck, and sped down the exit lane. He drove like a madman trying to escape a demon chasing him. His tires screeched as he pulled into a coffee shop parking lot. He nearly ransacked his briefcase to pull out his iPad. He started to recall the details of his experience with Gehenna, and they came flooding back. The crazy black business card, the whole 13th floor business, the way he was greeted at the office, the weird receptionist, the odd door to Gehenna's office, Gehenna himself, the way he felt after shaking Gehenna's hand, and the package with the necklace and his cryptic engraving. He turned on the tablet and started browsing. He Googled Morningstar and read the first entry from the search results. Latin translation, Lucifer. Alex gulped. He searched the name Gehenna and read the results. Gehenna, Hebrew, meaning a place of fire, land of the dead, hell. Oh my God. Alex was starting to panic. This whole deal seemed bad, really bad. Whether it was his own superstitious beliefs taking over, or this guy Gehenna was really something demonic and evil, Alex had had enough of it. He decided to tell Gehenna the deal was off. He made it to Gehenna's building in 20 minutes with traffic. He parked in the building's garage and went to take an elevator to Gehenna's floor. He exited the elevator and almost ran to the office door. Inside the outer waiting area, Alex paced nervously for a moment, and then, with a burst of impatience, he started to approach the door to the inner reception area where he would demand to see Gehenna. To his surprise, the door opened before he could reach it. Mr. Jackson, Mr. Gehenna is on a call, but he will see you in a few moments. Please wait inside. The same receptionist from the other day with his perfect features gestured for Alex to enter the room and have a seat. Alex did as instructed, but he was clearly anxious to get this over with. A few minutes later, the receptionist announced, Mr. Gehenna will see you now, and gestured to the door just as it slowly swung open. Alex jumped up and raced into Gehenna's office. Gehenna stood looking outside the window as Alex entered the office. Alex realized the door must have opened itself since Gehenna was on the other side of the room when it opened. He tried to ignore it and then steadied himself to confront Gehenna. Alex, you seemed agitated. Is there a problem? Gehenna said without looking away from the window. I need to cancel this thing. I want out, Alex blurted out in haste. But you are not yet in, Alex. I told you I would prove to you first my services were more than capable of satisfying your needs before we came to any sort of agreement. I'm betting you were quite satisfied last night, eh? This time Gehenna turned his head and gave Alex a wicked smile. Look, I appreciate the trial offer, but I need to say no. It's just not for me. I'm not into all of this mystical, magical, whatever this is. So are we square then? Alex looked at Gehenna and tried to anticipate his response. Sure, Alex, no problem. We are, as you say, square. Good, Alex interrupted, thinking that was the end of it. Except, Gehenna continued, I need to get the necklace back from you. Do you have it with you? Alex gasped. He forgot about the necklace. How the hell was he going to explain this to Maggie? I don't have it, and I don't know if I can get it back. My wife has it, and she really likes it. Can I buy it from you? Alex suggested an alternative to returning the necklace. Alas, no, I'm sorry. Those are only for my special clients, and I cannot cancel the deal without having it returned. Alex looked distraught at the news, but Gehenna went on. I may have a possible solution for your predicament. Maybe we can ask Maggie what she thinks about it. You know, she might feel differently about it. Alex was horrified at the thought of dragging Maggie into this mess. You leave her out of this. Well, it seems she's already in this. He gestured to the large wooden door as it opened and Maggie appeared in the doorway. Well, hello, Maggie. A pleasure to finally meet you. Maggie smiled at Gehenna until she noticed Alex standing in the office. Her eyes darted over to him, and then she asked, Alex, why are you here? Gehenna stepped in to explain. Alex and I were just finishing up a meeting. I thought it would be wonderful for you to join us. What are you doing here, Maggie? Alex, too, was shocked at Maggie's presence. I have an appointment with Mr. Gehenna regarding decorating his office. Maggie worked for an interior decorator firm in town, and she was their top designer. You set this up, Gehenna. Alex pointed at him with an accusing finger. Well, of course I did. How else could I have my office redecorated? He said to Alex, smiling. Then he looked at Maggie and said, What an interesting necklace you have, dear. Where did you get it? Before she could answer, Alex went to her and said, Maggie, we need to talk now. Alex, I have a meeting with Mr. Gehenna, and I don't want to be rude to a new client. I can't. You don't understand. He's not who you think he is, Alex was insistent. I'm sorry, I sense some tension here. Maybe I can help. Gehenna stepped towards the couple. Back off, Alex shouted at Gehenna. Alex, what is wrong with you? Maggie was appalled at Alex's behavior. Maggie, he gave me the necklace. I know this sounds crazy, but it's true. Now he wants it back, and if I don't give it to him, I'm screwed, Alex explained. Alex, you're not making any sense. This is ridiculous. You need to leave. She tried to respond to this insane behavior when Gehenna cut her off. It's true, Maggie. He's right. I gave him the necklace. He came to me for help. He wanted to make you happy, and he felt he'd never lived up to the task. I gave him the means to finally get it right, and now he wants to take it away from you. I want you to be happy, Maggie, and live your best life. Alex is being selfish, and he is afraid of what it might cost to make you truly happy. Gehenna moved in closer, and his eyes seemed to penetrate into her soul. Maggie was stunned at Gehenna's revelation. She looked to Alex for help to understand. Maggie, I looked up the symbol on the necklace. It's the morning star, which in Latin means Lucifer, Alex explained. You got me a necklace from the devil? Maggie asked slowly, trying to process everything going on. God damn that Google. You can find just about everything there, can't you? Gehenna said, disgusted, and then crushed his phone in his hand. Unnaturally, a small but brilliant fireball shot up into the air, and he let the charred pieces of the phone fall to the floor. He leaned over his desk and touched the intercom button. David, I'm going to need another phone again when you have a second. I'm sorry, Maggie. I just wanted to make you happy, completely happy with something I did. You always seem to find fault with everything I do, trying to please you. I thought I could get it right this time if I had help. Alex hung his head in defeat. Gehenna chimed in. And you did, or at least I did in your favor. Now you want to take it all away from her. Shame on you, Alex. Maggie stared at Gehenna for a moment, trying to understand everything that just happened. Finally, she turned to Alex. Alex, I don't understand what's going on here, but you need to know that I have always been happy with you. I love you, and nothing will change that. Sure, I'm particular about things, but that's just me. I know it bothers you, and I hope someday you can find a way to understand that. What matters to me is that I'm with you, through good and bad, perfect or not. She lifted his chin to look into his eyes. Alex started to feel his heart lift in his chest as he looked back. Well, isn't that just fucking sweet? Gehenna was pissed now. You could have had it all, lady, and now you're going to throw it away over this screw-up? Gehenna's face seemed to change the more agitated he became. The chiseled features became sharper, and his eyes sunk deeper into his skull. I think we're done here. Maggie reached up and took off the necklace. She offered it to Gehenna. You can have this back. Gehenna stared at the offered necklace and considered his options. Then he extended his hand and took the necklace from Maggie. I'm sure you both can find your own way out, he said, and then turned away from them to gaze out his office window. The office door opened for them to leave. Once they were in the parking garage, Alex stopped and looked at Maggie. She turned to face him and he said, I am sorry for this whole mess. I guess I was caught up in my own ego about trying to get it right that I lost sight of how you really felt. She took his hand and gave it a gentle squeeze. It's okay. I should have said more often how much I appreciate everything you do for me. Thank you. They gave each other a hug and then they went to their cars. Later, they returned home and had a quiet evening together. After they went to bed, downstairs in the kitchen, something started to stir. It moved slowly at first and then began spinning. It was the small wooden box with the engravings that had housed the necklace. It spun and began to glow. A neighbor's dog started barking in the yard, frightened by the sound of laughter.